This video is going to be the top 5 moments from The Flash, Season 1, Episode 11, The Sound and the Fury. Number 5 is way in the beginning when Harrison actually helps the Flash, bring all the motorcycle people together and catch him, and then Barry's back, and he's like, it felt kind of cool for once to be a hero. And Wells is smiling as he turns around. My God, the look on his face and his eyes, I couldn't tell if it was a or a oh, I know what it's like to be a hero, or screw you, I don't know. But the actor who plays Wells, my gosh, he does such a great job. It's just amazing. His facial, everything, the inflection in his voice, just so great. And I absolutely just loved when the Flash walked away after saying, oh, it felt good to be a hero. And he's just like, yeah, good to be a hero, eh? So if he's a Reverse Flash, I kind of understand this, because he's just like, he's the enemy of the Flash, and working with him might sting a little bit, but knowing that he's going to one-up him or betray him might help a little bit too, but still a pretty cool scene. Number 4 is the Pied Piper. If you read the comics, you know that he was a villain turned good eventually, especially during the Crisis on Infinite Earths. So in the comics, he starts off as a bad boy and then gets better. What I was really impressed about the Pied Piper was seeing him use his powers. I think his powers, anytime he did, was a great moment in the episode, and they did it so well. And I think it's really hard sometimes to come across with certain powers and make it look cool, but both the Arrow and the Flash have been doing a great job of taking people with superpowers and actually making them really cool and not make them look cheesy and, it looks believable. So seeing him use his powers was a really cool moment, and then afterwards, I guess I can clump this together, when him and the Flash are fighting it out. That was also a pretty neat scene with the Flash then throwing the batons at him and everything. Pied Piper, his insults, like when he goes into Star Labs and says to Kaylin, oh hey, I never did get that wedding invite. Jeez, man. Number 3 is the superhero selfie, when they all decide to take a picture, and then Barry races in and takes the picture. And for one, that was actually really cute, and it does technically count as a selfie. And what's kind of disturbing about that one, why they would even frame that and put in their office, I guess maybe they're thinking no one's going to break in, even though they've had people break in, and for goodness sakes, please do not put that on the cloud. We already know how well that works for privacy for people, but it was still a pretty cute scene. Number 2, actually seeing Harrison Wells running. That was amazing. I've been waiting for it, and you notice you saw the little red lightning behind him, which usually is what the Reverse Flash is, and then the Flash usually has yellow. But I actually heard a kind of interesting theory about how red is the fastest. And they said something to the extent that as Barry progresses in age, maybe his abilities increase, and so Wells wants to push him to increase his abilities so he can be at the same level, and then maybe Wells is future Barry, and that something's causing the deterioration in him not being able to use the Speed Force all the time, and so he's trying to figure out on his younger self, who doesn't have these problems yet, what the difference is between him and then his older self, and he hopes that if he keeps progressing Barry's powers, he'll be able to figure it out. So not sure where they're taking it, but in most cases it's usually the Reverse Flash, but it still was really cool to see him running and using some of the Speed Force. And finally, number 1, them mentioning the Speed Force. And if you are a comic book reader, you have been waiting for this. I have been waiting and waiting for them to mention the Speed Force. And then when Harrison is in his little Fortress of Solitude area and looking at his yellow suit, which should be the Reverse Flash suit, and he mentions the Speed Force, I freaked out. This is so exciting that they're bringing the Speed Force in. I was really concerned that they weren't going to, because they were thinking it would be too confusing, which is interesting because DC has said a lot that, oh, they don't want to do this because it might be confusing. Oh, it might be this, it wouldn't work. And Marvel's always like, confusing? How about a tree and a talking raccoon for you? So I'm glad that DC is starting to take a lot more risks and realize that they can do these things and they can bring in this terminology and it's not going to be confusing and they can make it just as cool as it is in the comics. So him mentioning the Speed Force was amazing, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what exactly Wells' endgame is and what's going on. Some Easter eggs, of course, Pied Piper is in the comics. Central City Pictures News is where Iris is working, and in the comics she actually works as a photographer for them. So the fact that they have that, and I think the name eventually changes later in the series. The I Failed This City, you know, is from the Arrow. The fact that they mentioned the Speed Force, which is something that is used and talked about wildly in the comics, and kind of used as a way to explain things like, well, if he's running, why doesn't his glasses get destroyed? Speed Force. Well, if he's running and carrying people, why aren't those people hurt by the friction? Speed Force. So, always Speed Force. And then Gideon, if you don't know it, is played by the voice, but anyways, is Anara from Firefly. She's a really great actress. She actually does a lot of geeky voice stuff and is in Gotham right now. So if you didn't notice that, that's also pretty cool. So those are my top 5 favorite moments. You can write yours below. Make sure you like and subscribe.